Welcome back to E20 Zone TV, and I am joined by Tom Athers, the Vlasic supporter who has supported him from the get-go. Power to the people, Tom Athers. That is Tom Athers. You know his name. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm good. I'm very well. Well, I'm not. I'm ill, but I'm a lot better now after finally seeing West Ham win in what feels like forever, and a really good performance to go with it. So yeah. It's a good day.
It has been a good day, mate. But let's start off with this man. What do you make of Lucas Fabianski today, Tom?
I thought he was all right. He didn't really have a lot to do until the second half, really, with about, what was it, like 2 minutes to go. He came out and made himself big and made a good save.
Good save from Soucek, though, wasn't it? At 2-1.
Yes, as well. Yes, it was. And then the first goal, could he have done better there? I mean, it was one of those weird ones that sort of had a lot of dip and flight on it. Could he have potentially got to it? Would Areola have got to that with his more athletic ability? But no, for me, I thought he was good enough. I thought his distribution was all right, and like I said, he made a good couple of key saves. So yeah, I'd say a solid 7 out of 10 for me for Fabianski today.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I think it's a key save, the Sissoko one. We're 2-1 up. We've just gone. No, tell you, I was 3-1 up, I think, at that stage. He makes a great save. And if that goes in, then it's all hands on deck, isn't it, for the last 20 minutes, half hour, whatever it is. But yeah, I agree with you. Short and sweet, 7 out of 10. Moving on to this man, Kufal, who I thought was a lot better today than he was against Southampton, I must admit. What was your assessment of him, Tom?
Yeah, no, I thought he was. I really didn't like him against Southampton. He looked like, he was sort of back when just before he got injured and Ben Johnson took his place. He just didn't look up to it. But today, much better. Really, really solid. Was up and down on that right hand side, and I think obviously it helps when you're playing against a Watford team that are going to allow you to attack. And they did not have any pace whatsoever on the counter-attack. Whereas with Southampton, yeah, they showed a little bit of something on the counter-attack. And I think, with like Kyle Walker-Peters and stuff, he couldn't really be caught out of position because they were bombing on. But Watford were realistically, and I guess we'll talk about them in a sec, but realistically, they were shocking, which really allowed Soucek to be at his natural best, which is getting forward. So for me, I think he was key, even though he didn't get an assist. I think he was key in a couple of the goals that we ended up creating, and defensively looked good as well. So for me, 8 out of 10, a really good bounce back performance from him.
I agree with what you're saying about Watford. We'll get on to that, but I just think it helped us that Watford haven't played for 3 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And we've sort of got that. We're in that match mode, so to speak. But was he an 8? We've conceded. I thought he played okay. I'll give him a 7. I'll give him a 7. Solid 7 for me. Moving on to this man, Ben Johnson, who I must admit, I liked him at left back. Thank God Moyes saw that Arthur Mazuaku can't defend and Ben Johnson can defend, even though going forward he's a bit poor with his passing. Give me your assessment of Ben Johnson, Tom.
Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought, again, any game where Masuaku is left on the bench and Johnson's the starting left back, even though it's not his natural position, it still gives us an advantage. God forbid Masuaku played for 90 minutes today. I think they would have got in a hell of a lot more, and we would have struggled defensively. We maybe even conceded more than the one. So, yeah, for me, it's difficult because obviously at the moment he has to play. I just wish it was in his natural position. But like I said, if it is cover at the moment for Cresswell and it means that Masuaku doesn't start, I thought he was good. And I did think a couple of times that, Diop and Dawson were left wandering and Johnson, thankfully, was sort of back in position more times than not to help out. I think he struggles more down the left-hand side, obviously, because he's right-footed. And he finds it difficult sort of going to the byline and cutting back on his left because it's not his fault. It's that's his natural game, is being a right-footed player. So yes, I thought he was good today. I'd say I'd give him, if I give Soucek an 8, I've got to give Johnson an 8 as well for fullbacks, which means you'll probably give him a 7 because we conceded the goal. But nonetheless, I thought they were good.
Yeah, I like Ben today. I'll give him a 7. A solid 7, I think. Obviously, if we keep a clean sheet, it might be a little bit higher. But yeah, I thought he's decent, even though it's not his natural position. He's naturally a right back and he's playing left back. Anyone's better than half a work at left back at present. And yeah, pretty short and sweet from me. Top draw as always from Benny Johnson. Moving on to Craig Dawson, mate, who I feel he was lucky to stay on the pitch.
Yeah, the elbow. Do you know when he did that? I remember I said to Rebecca at the time, I said, "I wouldn't shock me if he got a red card because, I mean, this is the inconsistencies of VAR. Because remember when Benteke did that a year or so ago, and he exactly the same where he sort of jumped up, led with his elbow, but it wasn't checked. So, you know, I guess it is what it is. But thankfully, he sort of stayed on. But then again, to be fair to you, I thought both centre halves today just 6 out of 10s, maybe 5 out of 10s for me. Again, it should today, especially with who we're playing and how they played, it should have been the game where they didn't and shouldn't have had much to do. And when they did have something to do defensively, they should have been dominant realistically against them. But I think both of them, there were times where they were out of position or they there was a couple of times where Diop came to the ball and it sort of allowed Dennis or Josh King to run in behind. And just positionally, they weren't there today. And he wasn't obviously a threat from set pieces either. So that kind of, for me, gives him somewhere between a 5 and 6 out of 10. I don't think they covered themselves in glory today, is what I would say. I think out of everybody that played today, I think the two centre halves are the ones that let them down.
Yeah, 100%. Give me a rating from Tom.
I'll give him a 5.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, mate. Quite surprising that we're quite agreeing on a few things, but I must admit, he's lucky to stay on the pitch.
I can't wait till we get to Vlasic. It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, I know that's going to be fun. But you watch my chatter go up about 25 people when Vlasic turns up. I thought he was lucky to stay on the pitch. I thought he was clumsy in certain things. Why is he doing that? We're comfortable in the game. He goes in with an elbow, and he could have easily been sent off there. But yeah, I'll give him a 5. But he is what he is, isn't he? He's a £2.2 million player. Moving on to a player who's not 2.2 million, he's 25 million. And Tom, how much time do we give Issa Diop, mate, before we run out of time with him?
As long as it takes for us to make a centre back signing or Zuma comes back in Feb.
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed. I think me and you are very, very much the same with this. We thought this is his chance now to really prove himself. Fair enough. If maybe he was playing with Zuma, a better centre half that speaks the same language as him, can pull him into positions when he needs sort of being pulled in. But so many times it's almost just like he switches off. He gave the ball away a couple of times in some dangerous areas. There was one, I think it was to the Sissoko shot where Fabianski dives down to his right. It was sort of Diop just almost nonchalantly just passed it back to him at the edge of the box. And there was a few times when he sort of ran out almost to cover the run, and he was turned inside out by King. It just, I'm just so disappointed because I so want it to work for him. But like I said before, they're really not covering themselves in glory. And actually, there was a point towards when I think it was either 2-1 or it was at 3-1, and the ball came back to Dawson, and he should have headed it, and he didn't deal with it, and they ended up getting a corner from it. And if you saw Jarrod Bowen's lips, the cameras sort of switched to him for a second, and Bowen said I assume to Dawson, just head the fucking ball, is what he said to him, because they didn't deal with it. And that was the same for both of them in that second half. They just did not deal with what they were being thrown at by Watford, which wasn't a lot. And even then they were still struggling. So
someone put something in my comments. I think it was Jazza. He said, with Craig Dawson, for how bad he can be at times, at least he puts his head on it with a bit of aggression. Issa Diop has got no aggression in his body whatsoever, is he? He's like the most laid-back geezer on the planet, I think. Yeah. I think Jazza turned around and said it. Jazza will probably say it in the chat, that when the ball comes to him, he allows the ball just to hit him on the head rather than him heading the ball. I don't know. Give me a rating, Tom, for Issa today.
To be honest with you, I thought he was worse than Dawson, so I'll give him a 4 out of 10. I'm not saying Dawson was that much better, but there was a couple of times where he did give the ball away. So for me, probably
4.
worse than Dawson today, so it'd be a 4.
4 out of 10 for Issa Diop. I'll give him a 5. If I'm going to give one a 5, I've got to give the other a 5. He's got to sort himself out, Issa Diop. I'm sorry, but he's £25 million worth of talent. We've been praising this geezer. I've been trying to back this kid up, but he's let me down. What makes me laugh is I back Benrahma up, he performs, and he lets me down. How about they both perform at the same time? Be nice. 5 for me. Moving on to this man, Captain Marvel, in the thumbnail. Tom, is that one of the best performances you've seen from Noble for a long time?
Yeah. I was screaming before the game. I was furious at the team sheet. I wanted Crowell to start. I wanted him in.
I can imagine it in the Athers household, right? When you looked at it and gone, oh my God, Noble's playing.
Do you know what? Even Rebecca looked at me and said, do you know what? I think actually I would have probably started with Crowell. I just didn't think he had the legs for it. Maybe it was because what were a weaker opposition. I don't want to do that to him. I give him a benefit of the doubt, but he was just spectacular. That was like a young Mark Noble performance. He ran the midfield for me. He's passing, the control that he had at times. He almost, he was playing in that Declan Rice role. And I know what Lee Dixon said on the commentary is he's playing that role. He's just doing everything a little bit slower. And that's fair enough because he controlled the midfield at times. He helped to break up the play. He linked the play very well between sort of the midfield, Lanzini dropping in deep. And yeah, I think he was good. There was a couple of times where he sort of, maybe gone in for challenges that he shouldn't have done. But if that was the worst bit about his performance, then I'm really sort of nitpicking. But for me, that is probably the best Mark Noble performance I've seen in some time. And easily, if Jared Bowen didn't have such a good game, he would have been man of the match. But I'd give him a 9 out of 10.
I've got to give him a 10. I have to.
I'm saving my 10. I'm saving my
10. I know you're saving
Bowen.
it for Bowen. I can understand that.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm going to give him a 10 is this. Last game he played for West Ham was the youth game against Zagreb. He's come into a team where we are shot to shit mentally. We're all over the gaff. We haven't won a game. We don't look like winning a game. Our confidence is gone. We go 1-0 down today. And that man absolutely pulled it out the bag today. Like literally, he took the bottle to step up for the penalty when, let's be honest, he missed the last penalty, I think, against United. And he just he galvanised the team, as Mark Noble does. One thing I did notice today, when you've got a sitting DM like Mark Noble and you've got Soucek going forward, what a difference we look. And this is a major problem with Rice and Soucek because they both want to go forward. This is why we get exposed. I thought he was absolutely first class. I think everyone, even you've said it, Tom. You looked at the team sheet. I looked at it and I thought, I hope he's done the right thing here. I'm not a fan of this, but he's put in a masterclass for me. One of the best performances I've seen Mark Noble do at the West Ham shirt for a long time, hell of a long time.
Yeah.
But moving on to his partner is this man, Thomas Soucek. Better, a lot better from this man today, Tom. Yeah. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, he was much better, but I think you're right in what you said there. I think having an actual out and out somebody that was going to stay back allowed him to go forward. And obviously, this is the problem we've got with him and Rice is they're both so good at going forward that it kind of hinders them because one thinks that he can go, the other then decide. If one of those two, and I would rather it be Declan Rice at the moment, is Declan Rice needs to be in the sitting role as much as possible and allow Soucek to go forward because Soucek, he has that eye for goal, I think that Rice doesn't yet have. Rice, even though with the ball at his feet, he's probably the best player at the club other than maybe like Benrahma or someone like that in terms of ability and what he's able to do. I worry that we're losing so much of Soucek's presence and ability going forward when Rice does that. So for me, I think it was brilliant to see him back on the score sheet. And I was crying out for that last week when I said, Antonio wasn't playing and we needed a goal, or the other day. I wanted Soucek to be the one that was running into the box and trying to get his either head on it or, because his finishing ability is very good and he's a presence in the box. And I'm glad that goal of his was such a good team goal that just start to finish, that whole move, the passing, everything else was just absolutely brilliant. So for me, yeah, I thought he was good today. He did take his goal well. So I'd say a 7 out of 10, maybe even an 8 out of 10 for me, actually. I just thought he was a lot better today. But I think that's the thing, is that I think he shone today because he was able to go forward as much as he did. Whereas in the last sort of few weeks and months, it's Rice that's tried to push forward. And I do think, thing is, I've just seen someone's comment there saying they sort of disagree and he's missed some chances and stuff. And that is true. But hopefully this gives him the confidence now. And I don't know, maybe it's something that they need to sort out between themselves, because I'm not sure who I prefer going forward. I just think his all-round finishing game is better, Soucek's is, than Rice at the moment, I would say.
Thanks to everyone in the comments who's putting their comments in. I really do appreciate it. And put your comments in on the ratings. And if Tom's wrong, you tell him. But at the end of the day, I agree with Tom on this one. I think Thomas Soucek is the player that we see today that we see last season. Going forward, being a pain, being in that sort of attacking third rather than defensive third. It is a problem, Tom, with him and Rice. When you've got two players who want to go forward and one goes, one stays, no one's got an ideal job. They want to do both jobs at the same time, and that's why we get exposed. I'll give him a 7. I'm with you on that. I think it's just not an 8, but it's a 7. It's a solid 7, though. He's played pretty decent today.
Yeah. And the thing is, Rice, for me, he's at the point now where going forward, I think he's that good at times, especially with the ball at his feet. I'm getting to the point where I don't consider him as a defensive midfielder. I consider him, he could be maybe not too far away from being an actual number 8, and actually, because his progressive yards with the ball and what he can do with the ball at his feet is far better than what most of the team can do, especially when he's going from back to front. But like I said, I think that's the issue in the last couple of weeks, is that there have been gaps because both Soucek and Rice are trying to do the same thing. And it worked so well, obviously, last year when Rice was the sitter and Soucek was the one going forward. And now it's like, which one of them is going to do that role? Because it seems that they both want to do it at times. And I think that Rice, yes, is the better defender than Soucek. But saying that, he's much better going forward with the ball. But Soucek's got the better. It is so difficult for Moyes. But if they can work that out between them, there's no reason why they can't both of them flourish in the positions that they play. I think Soucek needed a game like this today without Rice almost in there, and could prove to himself that he could score and he could sort of be about all over the pitch, because he covered a lot of ground, I assume, today, because he does. I think he's got the most yards or kilometres covered in the Prem this season, hasn't he? Because he just doesn't stop running. So, yeah, I think for him, he probably needed this game today, I would say.
Moving on to this man, Manuel Lanzini. Tom, what's your assessment of Manny today?
Yeah, polar opposite to the one against Southampton. He just looked lost against Southampton, but today, he didn't get on the score sheet. Yeah, he didn't get an assist, but he knitted the play together really well. Like I said, I think when he plays that deeper lying role where he's almost alongside Noble and Soucek, or Rice and Soucek, he could influence the game a lot more. When he's further forward, I don't know, sometimes he seems to struggle, but as an actual central midfielder, like I said, he can be that almost just the person in the middle of the park that can link the play together, can spread the ball out wide, can look to make the extra pass. And almost when he's doing that and he's not looking to score, he's just looking to be productive. I actually like him when he's like that. Against Southampton, he was none of that. He looked lost out there against Saints.
Lackluster, didn't he, against Southampton?
Yeah, exactly. And in the first half, I thought he was a lot better, especially sort of helping us get back into the game because he was sort of involved in both goal build-ups. So I'd give him a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a much better performance than the one at Saints, because I thought against them he was maybe a 4 out of 10. But today, a lot better, and I would say at least a 7 out of 10 for Manu.
I'm going to agree. I think Manny is what it is with Manny is consistency. 1 minute he's good, 1 minute he's great, 1 minute he's crap, 1 minute he's awful. Well, it is today. I think I agree with what you just said there. He needed to play well. He passed the ball well. He done everything okay and decent. Do you know what I mean? Today, he wasn't magnificent, but he wasn't poor. So yeah, standard performance from him really for his ability. 7 out of 10. Moving on to my boy Saeed Benrahma. Tom, you know that me and you have had many debates about this man, and you know that I have had a lot of stick from this man. So I'm going to let you go first in this one, mate. He hit the crossbar, he scored a goal. What's your assessment?
Yeah, much better today. I'll get the rating out the doors early. 8 out of 10. I thought he was good. I thought in the first half he was a lot better. I think the second half, I think the game drifted a bit before we sort of scored the last 2 goals. So maybe he wasn't as influential. It was a bit sort of like, I don't know. It just wasn't. It wasn't a good watch for about the first 20, 25 minutes of the second half.
Do you think that was because we got the goal and we went 3-1 up, and it was like that cushion?
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was just like, without sounding too posh, there was a lull in the game, and it just kind of just went a bit quiet and off. I don't know what it was, but getting back into the game, he was absolutely brilliant. And he looked to attack. He was cutting inside. He's the shooting today. Obviously, when he was against Southampton, there was a few that sort of he attempted, and they didn't have a lot of power behind it. But he looked a lot better today. He looked at the races. He looked good with the ball at his feet, dribbling and making the pass. And he just did all the right things today. Found himself in some good areas, especially when he sort of took his goal. He took his goal well. And that's the kind of performance I want to see week in, week out with Benrahma. Sometimes, like I know I've said in the past, I don't think he's helped by Antonio when he's not performing. But it was a great pick out from Antonio. And it is funny that when Antonio and Benrahma score, they seem to both score and do well at the same time. So obviously they feed off of one another. And I thought Antonio picked him out brilliantly. The fact they scored the other day together was, I don't know if it's just coincidence or the fact that they do work well together when they're both on form. So yeah, I thought they were very good today, and linked up very well. And like I said, I think easily an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, Alex has said a 5 for F2 freestyler. I know you're trolling, Alex. For me, I'm giving him an 8. It's not a 9 for me. He's a top class player, mate. I've been saying it for a long time. I've said it on this channel that I've done from the get go. I've said it on that previous channel. Me and Tom have had many debates on American Hammers about it. But I do feel this kid, if you give him the right supply, he will bury chances. He don't really miss many chances in key areas, so to speak. I thought he's good. That's 2 goals in 2 games, and we've got him one more game there for the Palace game before he goes to African Cup of Nations, which will be a bit of a blow. But I'm pleased. I had a bet at the start of the season. If no one didn't know, I had bet that he had scored 10 goals this season at 40-1. I'm halfway there. He scored 5 now. I need 5 more. I did also have a bet on him to score 5 goals, which I have collected today. So I do believe in this kid. And it's not being a fanboy or anything like that. I do believe this kid is a natural talent who can go a long way. Today, he's helped us to progress in a game that we was behind in. He's scored a goal to get us in front. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Top draw from Benny. Moving on to one man who is becoming one of my most favourite players at West Ham alongside Benrahma and Rice, is Jared Bowen. Remember that name, everyone. Tom, take it away.
I honestly, right, when he had his first sort of half a season with us, when we signed him in January, and then last season, I thought he'd found his ceiling. I thought, I didn't think there was a level that he could go to. I thought he'd score goals. I thought he would sort of always sort of help to be productive. But over the last few weeks, coincidentally, right around the time he started shagging Danny Dyer, his levels have just gone through the roof. He didn't put a foot wrong today. He was everything that was good about us going forward. Even the other day against Saints, he's the biggest criticism that I had of Jared Bowen in his first sort of year and a half with us was he was too greedy. The amount of times that he used to cut inside and try and get onto his left foot and have a shot, and But now, all of a sudden,
he didn't look up, did he, Tom?
Yeah,
he didn't look up. That's what it was. Yeah.
But now, when he's doing that, I think he's realizing his all-round game and actually being able to find people in the right areas and make the right decision. He's just looked a different player. If I was Gareth Southgate, I would be straight on the phone when it comes around to making those squads and getting him in the England team. If he carries on like he is, him and Declan Rice, I think, they won't be with us much longer if we don't actually end up getting into Europe and further. I think he's been sensational. And when everybody said, okay, when Declan Rice goes out, we rely now on Antonio if he went out, or, we rely on one of the central defenders. I think he's the second most important player at the club right now, because without him, especially in the last couple of games, almost, we'd have looked just a shadow of ourselves. 10 out of 10 for me. I thought he was just... I ain't got enough good things to say about him. He's just... genuinely, I'm glad he's almost proved me wrong in terms of being too greedy at times. Because like I said, when I saw him last season, I honestly thought he'd reached his ceiling, but this kid can go wherever he wants. And the bigger teams will look at him if they realise that not only can he actually finish on a regular and consistent basis, but have the ability to make the extra pass and look to get his teammates involved. He's just brilliant. It reminds me now a lot. Now what he's doing now, it reminds me a lot of what Diogo Jota does at Liverpool. A wide player that can play through the middle, that can score and can get assists and stuff. And, there's a reason why Klopp really liked him. And I think it's because he's in a very similar mould to what Jota and maybe a couple of others do for that team. But yeah, what a player. Unbelievable performance today.
I agree 100% with you there. When Jared Bowen arrived, he was a young player, come from Hull. He always had a good goal scoring ability at Hull, good on both feet. Anytime he used to get into the box, he used to always bury it for Hull. Come to West Ham, and I agree with what Tom was just saying there. He got a bit greedy, looking up, thinking he could do it all. Over the last sort of year, I've seen a massive improvement from Jared Bowen, massively. I think this year he's lost a bit of weight. He looks sharper. He looks faster. He's sorted out his private life now. He's with a bird who's probably sorting him out good and proper. And I feel that this kid can be anything he wants to be. I feel that we keep worrying about Declan Rice leaving our club. We should be more worried about if Bowen leaves our club. That's another thing. Absolutely first class today. He's a 10 out of 10 with Mark Noble with me, because I think Mark Noble helped the team massively to get where, to get them up for it. But Bowen carried out the instructions basically very, very well. He won the penalty. He should have scored a goal, which we'll get onto later. But yeah, Jared Bowen for me is becoming one of the most important players at West Ham with Declan Rice. And I do like the future, Benrahma, Bowen, either flank. I like that. They both drift in and out. Future's very bright if we can keep these players at the club. 100%. 10 out of 10. First class from Jared Bowen. Moving on, Tom, to Mikel Antonio. And I will start off with this one. I will say he looked a lot better today. He was the Antonio of old. He needed a bit of a reality check, I feel. When he was playing games before, it seemed like he was just drifting in games. Today, he was up for it. First half, he was all right. I would say he was a bit of a nuisance, but other players outshone him. Second half, I thought he was a lot better. He was having a fight with their centre half. It was a pain in the arse. I'll give him a solid 7 for me out of 10. Yeah. What's your rating for Antonio?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think obviously, again, that's a thing for Antonio, and I think he's learnt it more this season, being a number 9, that he doesn't have to do it all himself. That if he can get into the right area, he can make that extra pass, which he did for Benrahma, and that was a great pick out from him. So, yeah, I think it's a much better performance, especially, obviously, he got his goal the other day, so you would expect him to be sort of up and at it for this game. Their centre-half, Peralta, was just... A, was dog shit, but B, in the arse. I don't understand. I'm sure I will give the ref a rating a little bit later on, but it's just awful. Yeah, but for me, yeah, he was much better. Still probably not an 8 or a 9. Probably needed his goal, but for the most part, looked a little bit more like Antonio, with a bit more sort of confidence in his stride. And yeah, I think obviously getting the assist as well will help him, but much better from him today. And I'd say a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Moving on, Tom. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. The 24 in the chat. Obviously, Tom has backed this player up. Me and Tom have had some really heated discussions on different platforms over the last sort of 6 months. Vlasic in, Vlasic out, Vlasic good, Vlasic bad, etc. I'm going to let Tom take this one away with pleasure. Take it away, Tom.
Do you know, I'm going to give right. I would have given him a 7, for his goal. But do you know what? I'm going as far as to give him an 8. And do you know why? Because the other day when Moyes took him off at half time, I was spitting feathers. I just didn't understand it. I thought the last 2 or 3 games, he's looked as good as he has done yet in a West Ham shirt. And I thought he just needed that goal. He just needed that assist. Especially with the African Cup of Nations coming up for Benrahma, we needed him to realise, yes, he's going to start a few games now that Benrahma's out. Let's give him some confidence. And I thought that unfairly, Moyes took him off a couple of times when he shouldn't have done in the last couple of weeks. So for it to come on, there was, he gave the ball away a couple of times, fair enough. But the Nous to be in the position that he was in and wait for the cutback from Bowen. Yes, he passed into an empty net, but it's a good thing because positionally he's aware that that's where he had to be almost to take his goal. So do you know what? For all the crap he's got in the past couple of weeks from Moyes and stuff, I know you may give him a 7 because he got his goal, but I'm going to give him an 8 because I so want him to succeed, and I still think there is a player in there. And now he has his goal, and people have said, all right, in the last couple of weeks, now is his, especially with Benrahma going to the African Cup of Nations, now is his time to shine. And thankfully, he's got that now, and hopefully he kicks on. If he doesn't kick on from here, then, come the end of the season, we'll see what happens. But for me, there is a player in there, and you could see how happy everybody was. Fabianski ran from his own goal to go and celebrate with him for that last one. All the players, Wade Noble's talking about him, says how hard he works in training. So just a brilliant moment for him, and hopefully it's the first of many.
I'm going to give him an 8. I am going to give him an 8. I am going to give him an 8 because he scored a goal. He's come on. He's had a lot of criticism from me, especially. He's also had criticism from Daya. Me and Daya had many chats about him. I hope that is the springboard for him now, that he can go from where he's come from and move up a level. Do I think he has been a success at West Ham? No, not yet. But time will tell. Good goal. He works hard. He's robust. But I need to see a bit more. We're going to need him when Benrahma goes. So I'm glad he's got the goal now. That will boost his confidence up. So when he plays Leeds or whoever he's got to play in the FA Cup or whatever, let's see what he can do then. But today, he come on, he scored a goal. He was good when he come on. He gets an 8 for me. Can't knock him today. He didn't do anything wrong. Should he have been subbed against Southampton? That's a bit of a difference of opinion there. I think he was not great, and we looked better when he weren't there. But today, he comes on, he scores. So we move on. 8 out of 10 for me. Moving on to, where are we? This man. Arthur, I can't defend Masuaku. Give me a quick rating, Tom, for his 10 minutes on the pitch.
6 out of 10. Fuck him. There you go.
Yeah, I'm glad. Listen, he come on. He didn't do anything wrong. He put a good cross in. Standards. Yeah, I'll give him a 6-0 for what he done. Alex Crowell, Tom. He come on today. He was only on a few minutes, but
he came on today to make his Premier League debut. Yeah,
in December, which is unbelievable. What do you? I don't want to give him a rating, Tom. There's no point giving him a rating. But where do you see Crowell's future with West Ham?
Well, if Noble comes on and plays like that every time he gets a few minutes, I don't see him, unfortunately. it's another one that's such a shame because, like, when we have seen him, I don't think he's put a foot wrong. And even sort of when he came on today, he wanted to get stuck in straight away. And I don't know, we always said with Vlasic and the light that, there must be something in training. But, when Noble came out today after the game and said how hard he works in training, it's almost like, well, what is it then that David Moyes sees that he doesn't like about him? I don't know. Moyes is the manager. And obviously today we trust in Moyes because he did make the right call and Noble backed it up with a good performance. But I can't help but feel a little bit sorry for him because I feel like when he has played, he actually looks all right. So I thought he was a shoe-in today. I thought it was the sensible decision to make. Like I said, I honestly thought Noble would be on the bench or he'd go with a midfield three of Noble, Krau and Soucek. I just feel a bit sorry for him. Because like I said, the fact that he's only now made his Premier League debut in December, we're nearly at the turn of the year, just feels a little bit harsh for him. But at the moment, I can't honestly see us signing him next season. He would have to play a good sort of 10 times across all competitions in the new year for me to say that we need to sign him, because it almost looks like right now that Moyes feels like he doesn't need to play him, which is a shame, but what can you do? But again, it was the right call today from Moyes, so I can't say that, it was shocking that Krau didn't start. I just thought it was everybody in the build up to this game was saying, don't start Noble, start Krau. So yeah, hopefully we get to see him a little bit more in the new year.
I've got to agree with you, but then when what you just said there's a valid point. When Mark Noble is putting in performances like today, how can he get in the team? He can't get in the head of Declan Rice, because Declan Rice is a top-class footballer. Soucek's better than Krau. And when Mark Noble's coming in and putting in performances like that, I do feel sorry for him. I agree with you on that. But when I do look at him, I feel there is a player there. We just haven't seen it yet. We just haven't seen enough of it yet. But time will tell with him. It really will. Moving on to this man who... This is going to be fun. Let's talk about the disallowed goal, Tom. Let's go through a few things. First, the disallowed goal. Is it a foul or that Thomas Soucek does for it to be pulled back?
With one, so I don't want to seem like the salty dickhead who's going to go, it's not a foul. Just, it's a foul, but it is very soft.
Yeah.
He does clip his foot. He does go down far too easily. So by the letter of the law, yes, it's a foul, but is that what it's come to? It's so soft. And thankfully we ended up getting a VAR decision, because if that wasn't given as a penalty, then I really would have been spouting conspiracy theory, because it just seems a bit weird now. So many games on the trot. But yes, it was a very, very slight foul, but I thought it wasn't one that warranted the game to have to pull it back. I don't know. Obviously, it resulted in a goal, so that's where they obviously want to stamp it out that if it is a foul, they build up to a goal. And but, I just thought it was very soft. Maybe if it had gone against us, I would be screaming blue murder and say that's a foul, that's a foul. But it's just a 50-50 one. I just thought it was very soft.
For me personally, I don't think it was a foul. I think the Watford player's leg goes back. He if anything, he fouls himself in a way. He kicks Soucek's foot, goes over looking for a foul. Soucek gets the ball, passes it along, ball goes in. Bowen scores. The penalty, they looked at every single angle, VAR, to try and not give that. I couldn't believe what I was looking.
How the hell he did not give that as a penalty
in the first place? Yeah,
that was more alarming to me, that he didn't look at that and think, right, that's a penalty. It was clear as day. It was exactly like Edouard Mendy the other week when we played Chelsea. Darren England, for me, is one of the worst refs in the Prem. He's so card happy. And he had no control over the game. And even then, their centre half, when the stuff he was dealing with Antonio, he bumped Antonio in the back, who fell into their player, and their player made a meal of it. And he didn't even book their centre half. Just woeful refereeing. There needs to be some sort of, I don't want to say reform, but then the referees in this league need to be looked at and educated. I'm such an advocate of, I want referees that almost when players retire, they either become referees or they have an influence on the referees themselves at a higher level. Because if you play the game and you know the game, it's a very different opinion to that of a referee who, follows the rule book. Because for me, if a former player is seeing something like that, I think a former player would go, yeah, it's just, for the penalty or for the
do you think, though, Tom, it's different generations? Because if we go back 10 years ago, the game from 10 years ago to the game now has completely changed, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's all in protecting the players. My God, if Vinnie Jones was still about now and doing half the shit he used to do, like, imagine the amount of bookings and suspensions he'd get. But I understand it's the way the game's going, but if a referee can't see on the pitch at the time that is a penalty or just little thing, he needs to go back down into the Championship almost, and just there should be bigger punishments for referees that don't make simple.
There should be a punishment for referees like there is for players. If you don't perform well, you get shipped down to a league, and then you keep going down until you get back up to the level that you should be at.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like, and it's not just today. The fact that they came out, the PGMOL or whatever it was, and said, "Oh yeah, you shouldn't have had a penalty against Arsenal, and your goal against Burnley you should have had a penalty against Burnley." Well, no shit. Anybody on their right mind can see that. Is the ref held accountable for that? Absolutely not. He'll just go away and he'll ref next week. There should be something in place that these refs are held accountable for, because they are ruining football matches. And thankfully, yes, we've won today, but at the same time, my God, there needs to be some form of change with the refs. They're ruining great games. I
feel, though, before we get to the ratings, that Bowen goal could have been key if that would have been a different West Ham today. Today, that West Ham was the new West Ham. Don't be the old West Ham. We might have let our heads go down, then we might have conceded. But give me a rating, Tom, for Darren England and his VAR staff.
I go 1 out of 10. Maybe even a 0 out of 10. I always try to be as sort of non-biased as possible, but they're not covering themselves in glory. They're just idiots. Thankfully, VAR bailed him out for our penalty, but they're just the refs in this league are a bit of a joke at the minute.
I'm going to give him a 3. I think and that's me being kind, because West Ham have won. I think
if he's doing that, though, don't forget, we both agreed he maybe missed one that should have been a red card for Dawson, and also his inability to actually book and deal with that Peralta against Antonio thing correctly. He was genuinely awful.
He was bad, I must admit. You are right. I can't disagree with you. The Dawson one is a major problem, though, because if how clumsy Dawson is to go elbowing through the geezer's nut, literally takes his head clean off near enough, and I'm thinking, please don't go to VAR, whatever you do. And thank God he didn't, but I agree. I'll give him a 3. I think I'll drop it down to a 2 after what you just said about Dawson, because let's be honest, Dawson could have easily could have gone. Shocking referee, absolutely shocking. And the final rating of today, Tom, is David Moyes. 4 changes today, brought in Mark Noble, brought in Ben Johnson, changed it up. What's your assessment of David Moyes?
I got to give him I'll give him a solid 8. It would have been a 9 maybe if he made some subs earlier on, but before the game was pulling my hair out, as I'm sure most people were. But listen, this is why he's paid to be the manager, and the rest of us, are fans. We can have our opinions, but at the end of the day, the buck will always stop, and it will, the blame will lie with him if it goes wrong. But today. He's got it absolutely spot on. That's not a team maybe necessarily with like Rice, etc. back, that I'd want to see, especially. But in the circumstances, what he's kind of got injury-wise and what he's having to deal with, I think relatively got it spot on today. Like I said, I would have liked to have maybe seen, there was a point, like I said, that lull in the game at about 70, 75 minutes. I thought that's when he could have maybe looked to bring a couple of changes on. So if he'd have done that, maybe I'd have given him a 9. But in terms of game plan and everything else, I thought he was spot on. So I'd give him an 8 out of 10. Yeah.
I'm going to agree. I think an 8's about right where I'm at. I think a 9's too high. I think 7's too low. I think 8 is where I'm at. No more stubborn Moyes, I hope. He took out Arthur Masuaku because he knows Arthur Masuaku is poor. Put in Ben Johnson, which he should have done against Southampton, but he didn't. He picked the right team today. Like, he went with Noble. We was all thinking, I don't know about this. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, this could go one or two ways. We could either get blitzed here. And then after the first sort of 10 minutes of the game, when we go 1-0 down, I'm thinking, Moyes, you've completely fucked this up. But he must have done his own work and he sorted it out. And I must admit, we played very well today. Very well. All the players did to a point, apart from the 2 centre halves for me. I think Moyes has rotated well. He brought on Vlasic. Vlasic got his first goal. He didn't sub Benrahma on the 70th minute, which is good news. Which is a start. I think he gets a solid 8 for today, Moyes. Pretty simple rating for me and Tom. And I'm glad that he looked at Masuaku on that left-hand side, because that left-hand side was weak. Last couple of games has been massively weak on that side, and he's addressed it today, and we got the win, which is why he gets an 8 out of 10. Tom, final thought from you, mate, before we go.
Yeah, Watford was shit anyway. I think that always helps. Jesus, I know they've got obviously their own injury worries, and if Ismail Assar was playing today, how much would he have affected the game? But with a performance like that, it wouldn't shock me if they went down. Put it that way. If they didn't have Dennis sort of bailing them out most weeks when they sort of need it or have got points this season, they were bad. Thankfully, I think we've played them at the right time. It's a great way to end the year. What a brilliant year. Start to finish it's been for us. And there's so much to look forward to into the new year. And, Palace did get a result today, yes. And obviously they'll be up for it. But thankfully, we'll have Rice back. And, it's positive again. Hopefully as well, January, first few weeks, not even that, first few days, we can make a signing. And we go from there. But no, it's a positive day, even though Watford were just absolutely god awful. But thankfully, we've shown that we can dominate a team like that, which is good, especially when we're putting out a second string team for the most part as well.
I agree, mate. I think Watford, we played at the right time. I think they've had 18 days off. They haven't played a game. They've had one training session, and West Ham are match sharp, and Watford weren't basically. I feel that it was the perfect timing, perfect moment, and we needed a game like this to get us back to where we should be, and that's where I do think with that. Before we go, Tom, you've just mentioned it there. It's the final game of the year. What has been your highlight game of the year before we go, mate? I've got a few that I can think of.
Yeah, I think I would say genuinely the Europa League as a whole, I thought was sort of really, really good. I'd say back end of last season, the result at West Brom, I thought was really, really good. Obviously, it was such a key, like individuals, how far Moyes has sort of brought on Rice and Benrahma. Obviously, this year has been a revelation at times. Antonio in sort of position he's played at. There's been so many good moments. This is the best calendar year we've had probably since, early 2000s, late 60s, 70s, that kind of stuff. It's one of those years that's hopefully a turning point for the club. If we were to give like West Ham as a rating for the entire year, I'd say it was easily a 10 out of 10. I don't think anybody would have expected us to do as much as we have done in a calendar year. Getting to the quarterfinals of the Cup, we were a little bit unlucky against Spurs. But I think overall, it's just been it's been a breath of fresh air almost that we're able most weekends to sit back and go, Jesus Christ, how good have West Ham played? And that's for me more than anything has been the best thing. But in terms of, like I said, overall games, I think some of those Europa League performances, West Brom sort of back end of the season, the Aston Villa game, the 4-1 over there, the Chelsea game, some of the mixing it with the big boys, especially in the cup. It's just been really, 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 really good. And I hope 2022 is as good as 21, because if it is, the future's bright. We are maybe 1 or 2 signings away in January from actually going far in a competition that we had no right qualifying for last season, especially at the start of the season. So, yeah, it's good times. It's good times. If we'd have ended today on a defeat, it would have been, I think, a bit of a sour end to the year. But realistically, when you look at the amount of points we've picked up over a calendar year in the Prem, not many teams are going to match that other than the top. I think almost if we looked at points in a calendar year, I reckon we've got more than most, and it would be only really Chelsea, Liverpool, City that would have more than us, I imagine. That's how good we've been. So yeah, competing on all fronts. It's just it's been a really good season or calendar year.
For me, the Jesse Lingard factor last season when he arrived, he's just was phenomenal. We've asked him to come back. If he does, is another thing. Games last year, Arsenal, the 3-3 draw. I always remember that's the best 30 minutes I've ever seen West Ham play in the West Ham shirt. Basically, that 30 minutes against Arsenal, we blitzed them and we played really well. Games against Leicester, Wolves last year were very, very good. Aston Villa away, we was very good. And then, obviously, towards the back end of the season, we sort of collapsed a little bit, but we sort of sorted it out to get into the Europa League. Obviously, we got into the Europa League this season. Tottenham win at home, the Chelsea win at home, the Liverpool win at home, the Leicester win at home. 4 good games where we've won against very good sides. And the team is good, but I want to see some spend in January. There's no excuses now. If we're going to be maintaining this, and you want to keep the likes of Declan Rice, Jared Bowen at your club, they want to see some bodies in here and some good signings, and that's what we need to do. So come January, Daniel and them other ones need to start putting their hands in their pockets and start delivering some Wonga to Mr. David Moyes. But yeah, it's been a great year. It really has, as a West Ham fan, especially with a global pandemic, people struggling up and down the land with COVID and with life in general. So for West Ham to be winning games and giving us a bit of joy is always a pleasure. I must admit, I've been waiting a long time for this. Anyway, that is enough from me and Tom. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Have a good New Year. Have a drink on me, and all the best. Tom, you have a good New Year also, mate.
Yes, I will. Well, I'm currently very ill. I got tonsillitis, and Rebecca's got a chest infection. But yeah, other than that, we'll be bringing in the new year with.
Well, Tom's full of joy and good vibes, do you know what I mean, as always. But Tom's going to be, let's put it this way: he's going to have his hands full in the new year. So, do you know what I mean? 2022 is going to be a good year for Tom. But anyway, that's enough from us. No worries, mate. No worries at all. Anyway, take care, everyone. All the best. Bye for now.